Hello, I am Dr. Olga Stevko, and on this webinar here with me is my client Isaac. Isaac, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Isaac, and I am out here joining Olga from the Fort Collins, Colorado area.
Thank you. Today we are going to talk about unconscious programs and unconscious patterns, and how these unconscious programs are forming and how they are affecting you and many areas of your life. And also, we're going to talk about how to identify and transform unconscious programs and how you and your life will be different after this transformation. And neuroscience has shown that 95% of our life experiences are shaped by unconscious programs. And unconscious programs are forming during stressful life events and trauma, including trauma that passed down genealogically as transgenerational epigenetic inheritance. And Isaac, I would like to know your opinion. We talked about that before because you are in technology, how unconscious programs can be how some analogy can be used, unconscious programs, and for example, a computer system.
Right. Yeah, I think it'd be best if we kind of expanded on the analogy throughout the webinar by, taking pieces of things we discuss and almost adding another layer. But, I would say that the simplest way that I would attempt to describe it is that um, uh, you know, generally we would think of, uh, you know, a computer functioning based off of some combination of hardware. So that's, um, different components, and, that there's any level of depth to that may or may not be valuable to go into here, because that's a different realm of that's past psychology at some point. But the key area is that there's some hardware aspect to it, some physical constraint, and there's some software aspect to it. So something that can be kind of programmed into it to make it operate differently. So the idea really is that unconscious programs are are the human analogy to that, where the human being, you have your limbs, you have your brain, you have your heart, you have different things that make you work. But what you may not realize is that your ability to breathe effectively can depend on your hormonal balance, which your hormones are released based off of your response to the world. And your response to the world is based off of your unconscious programs. So that is one example of how this kind of complex web of after effects can happen, depending on how one program running in your mind can, for example, cause you to misperceive an event and create a butterfly effect of things that can affect you in many different ways that may seem purely related to a physical issue, but can be root caused in a software issue, which we refer to as an unconscious program. Um,
Thank you, Isaac. And of course, human mind and body, they are much more complex than just a computer, even the most complex computer, right?
right,
Yes. And unconscious programs, they affect nervous system responses that impact both body and mind. And this phenomenon creates a wide variety of physiological, physical, mental, and emotional conditions and different conditions, and we are going to talk about that during our webinar. And I help Isaac with many different issues, and some issues are gone and some issues significantly improved. Is it right, Isaac?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. And let's talk about that issue. You had severe allergies. Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, so the primary cause of that was it seemed like my body would respond to an environment. I believe it was generally heat based, that it would have a allergic response to this, and this allergic response would be, I would say, very much like having it's been a long time since I've experienced it, so I already forgot the word, but let me see. So I'll just describe it. So the main issue was it would cause breathing problems and phlegm to the point that it was difficult to breathe, and it would often last for a week or two. Many people would think I was sick, and in reality, um, with the frequency of which it happened and the fact that it was in fact just a response to a situation rather than actually getting sick from some sort of disease, it was quite clear that it was an allergy. And I wouldn't have realized uh, that it was the kind of allergy it was until I worked with Olga, because after working with her, the problem is pretty much gone, at least as far as that specific heat-based trigger for the allergy. It is gone. And what used to essentially be me having, okay, that's a word for asthma, that it was very much like having asthma symptoms. So whereas I got used to basically having those symptoms almost year round, was maybe a few times in between that I didn't have those allergic reactions. I more or less forgot about them after working with Olga, because of how infrequent they have become, to the point that I forgot the word asthma, even though it used to be essentially a part of my daily life at some point.
Thank you, Isaac. And let's talk about how unconscious programs are forming. As I mentioned before, trauma can pass down genetically, and certain health conditions can be genetic too. And my theory about allergies, that often it can be passed genetically, that reaction. And I will give you as an example. If some of your ancestor, and it can happen even many generations ago, is experiencing a life stressful event or trauma, and even possibly repeatedly, and as an example, that person lived in an environment where it was a lot of dust, as an example.
Right.
And in this case, because of that stress reaction, your immune system can make a mistake and to overreact to dust as if it is something dangerous, and even it is not. And my theory, that reaction can be coded to that reaction to dust and passed as information genetically. And for some people, genes can express when they can be very stressful events or trauma, and if that person is around dust. And it can be the same reaction, allergy to dust, for example. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you, Isaac. And also, Isaac, you worked on extreme sensitivity to sounds. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, so the most vivid memory I have of that is that I would remember that I would try to take exams when I was younger, and uh, I mean, it felt like everyone around me in the room that was, writing on their paper, like I could feel the scratching of the pencil in my head. It was just so overwhelming. It was irritating, it was exhausting, and I was completely unable to focus. So it was, the sensitivity was pretty bad, and it was, of course, heightened by stressful situations like an exam, which was the situations where it mattered a lot. It also affected my ability to sleep. Um, but after working with Olga, similarly to what I described earlier, the issue was like night and day. What I was used to being bothered by other people, it just didn't bother me, and my focus was not on the sounds around me, but where else it needed to be or wherever else I could put it.
Thank you. And even this hyper vigilance to sounds, over sensitivity to sounds, can be passed genetically, because I had some clients who recalled a sense of their ancestors' experience, kind of that genetic memories, when their ancestor or ancestors, as an example, were during some war. And again, it can be 2, 3, 4 generations ago. And because of certain sounds and the trauma of the war, like again, your unconscious mind can code this information as a dangerous information,
Hmm.
including sounds, and pass genetically this information.
Hmm.
My understanding how unconscious mind is coding during some trauma or
Hmm.
stressful life events, it's whatever is around, what's going on, first of all,
Hmm.
even how it looks. Either it's a open space, some field, or in a country, not open space. You cannot escape, for example.
Hmm.
Even what temperature it is can be coded. Even what kind of sounds are. And it can, again, this code can pass in this information, pass down genetically. And in this case, for some people, their genes can express around some stressful situation, even it's not a war, only it's stressful, and somehow genes can express, with my understanding, and create similar triggers to what triggers can create that stress reaction. For example, sounds. Even sounds can be not absolutely the same, like sounds from the war, but somehow certain sounds can remind those in some way.
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And in this case, unconscious mind just trying to decide what contributed to this dangerous situation or
Hmm.
trauma, uh,
Hmm.
in order to protect you if something similar will happen again.
Right.
Yes. And in this case, sounds themselves are not dangerous. They're just created because of a danger. Only your unconscious mind can mark them as dangerous.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's why possibly you experience that because I remember your genealogically, your grandparents went through horrible trauma experiencing the Second World War, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Isaac. And also, you actually, you were very sensitive to heat, to hot temperature, right?
Yes.
And it's, yeah, can you talk about this, please?
Yeah. So this was also kind of separate in some ways from the allergy issue, because the allergies were kind of caused by usually heat and those kinds of environments, but the heat sensitivity itself was more of a almost response to being in a hot environment, more of a I would say kind of, it would make me irritable, it would make me angry. It would primarily, the biggest sensation I would feel from it was pins and needles around my body is how it would feel. And that kind of perpetually made me want to be in the cold, which was often unpractical. And sometimes I had to be in the cold to the point that it was uncomfortable, because it was either be uncomfortable with the cold or be uncomfortable with pins and needles. And I had to choose the one that was less painful. Um, but I think after working on that with you, I learned how I was missing out on, being able to be comfortable with warmer temperatures. And so that was an interesting shift in perspective as well.
Yes, it is interesting because I notice with some of my clients, they were very sensitive to some kind of the weather. For
Mhm.
example, they felt more slow, tired. Even some people had headaches, and also kind of some people even felt sad during gloomy or or rainy weather and or snowstorms. And interestingly enough, after identifying what created it and identifying some unconscious program or programs that created it, and often it can again pass genetically. And working on this program and programs, all their symptoms were gone. They did not feel the same symptoms like you during
Mhm.
hot temperature, hot weather.
Right.
Yes. Uh, and also, I remember we worked on social anxiety and inconsistent eye contact. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And can you talk about that, please?
Yeah. That one I don't really recall as much, but I think it ended up being more than just it ended up being more than just eye contact related. Like, sure, it definitely did help me maintain eye contact. But what I realized was there was almost like there was a feeling in my head when I tried to maintain eye contact, a sort of social uncomfort or anxiety that would occur. And I don't know if it was specifically looking in the person's eyes or feeling something about their gaze. Maybe it was some sort of internal like disapproval of myself, that it was like I didn't feel comfortable with someone else looking at me. Like I didn't want, like I had an embarrassment, almost some combination of those things, I think. But like many of the other things, the changes were dramatic. It went from I couldn't really maintain eye contact. Uh, I fumbled with my words a lot more. It would it would it would make my mind very foggy when I tried to talk with people oftentimes. And now it's just a lot easier.
Great, Isaac. And also remember, during some meetings, you felt very tired. Do you remember? Even
Yes.
on Zoom. And now it's better, right?
Yes, it is.
Great. I believe it's related, was related to that issue.
Yes, in part, but we also worked on that issue specifically in regards to being tired in meetings in separate sessions as well, because that was a bigger and more specific topic that needed to be addressed further than just the one you mentioned now.
Yes. Yeah, there is a field in medicine, it calls psychoneuroimmunology.
Mhm,
And it's shown that your mind and your nervous system, they affect your immune system. And that's why when people feel stress,
mhm,
they feel stress, uh, it can, because they can be changing in even chemistry in body. And it will affect your immune system response. And some health conditions can be created. And
mhm,
as an example, even cardiovascular conditions, autoimmune diseases, allergies, and and many other conditions. And it's interesting that also it's documented that there were some cases when people with multiple personality disorder, they, for example, one person had allergies in one personality, and
mhm,
another personality allergies were completely gone.
mhm,
And another patient had diabetes type 1. It's an autoimmune diseases.
mhm.
And antibodies are attacking pancreatic gland. And in some personalities, all symptoms were gone completely.
Right.
It's so interesting. Mm?
Mhm,
And it is how to understand that. I understand it this way, that unconscious programs, they influence perception of yourself,
mhm,
perception of the world and other people. And in certain personalities, perception of yourself will be completely different. And that can create either stress. For
mhm,
example, if one personality, in one personality, the person has low self-esteem, low self-worth,
mhm.
in this case, that person will feel stress every day.
Right.
Even they documented that in some personality, in different personalities, people, they carry themselves different, more confident or on the contrary, not confident. Even
Mhm,
their voice can shift. Even their behavior is different. And
right.
that's why in one personality, because of the perception is different and how unconscious programs are triggered will be different,
Mhm,
that's why it can change what people experience physically,
right.
mentally, physiologically, even health conditions. Does it make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you. And Isaac, um, what I experienced by changing unconscious programs, they can be permanently gone. In this case, people won't experience the same program or programs. In this case, issues that are associated with this unconscious programs can be resolved.
Right.
In your experience.
Right. And that's certainly what I experienced as well. Yes.
Thank you. And let's talk about what other things and areas unconscious programs can influence. And they can affect most things, even how people look, even they are like kind of even shape of face, shape of their eyes. And I had multiple experiences after transforming some unconscious programs when people change how they look. For some, it can produce even anti-aging effect. They reverse their age. I did a webinar with my client Lou, who reversed his biological age significantly, only in 90 days, because he did a video before and after, and not only how he looked changed dramatically, even his memory dramatically improved, his cognition dramatically improved. Even he became more like stronger physically. And that can shift even when people do not work on that directly. And also it can shift even shape of your eyes. I had some clients, they had kind of squinty eyes and sunk eyes, and now their eyes are very open and not sunk anymore.
Right.
And also it can shift your posture dramatically, permanently. Because I had clients, they tried all of their lives to change their posture, doing some exercises, trying to sit straight, but it didn't work well for a long period of time, only for that moment. And it can shift also even the quality of person's voice, all characteristics of voice. I remember I had more than one clients. One of them, he had a very high pitch voice and very nasal. And doing this work, his voice now is very deep and no nasal tonality. And it can shift also how people think, the way they think, how they react to certain things, how they behave. It can shift too dramatically. And also it will open up more possibilities in life. And somehow some people even become more capable, what they could not do before, they can do now.
Right.
Some health conditions can be completely gone as a result of transforming unconscious programs. And even it can change relationships, how they are,
Right.
even business for some people. And many more areas can be influenced by transforming unconscious programs. Was it your experience?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Did you experience that many areas of your life were positively influenced by transforming unconscious programs and shifted?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
And can you give, other than what we talked about, some other examples? For example, relationships.
Um, let me see what's a good one to talk about. So, um, yeah, I guess you want something specific. So in terms of relationships, I think one of the biggest issues I had in many ways was related to trust. Um, and I do think we worked on it a bit, but I think we mostly worked on other things that, in part, you know, uh, helped my trust. And a lot of my trust issues um, actually also came from myself. That's where a lot of my issues started. I do believe we did directly work on trusting myself, which, you know, because I wasn't able to trust myself, it made me try to be very particular about how I wanted things to be in a certain way. And when people wouldn't do things in those certain ways, it would cause me to not trust them. And in little ways that would bleed out in my relationships and friends and family, and it would cause me to lash out or just not be open with them, or just not really want to interact with them very deeply. um, well, and certainly they would oftentimes feel it with like the feeling of uh, when someone wants to do something, or uh, there's just a certain kind of like lack of thankfulness toward them that I might have, or a lack of kind of a response to what they did, because it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting anything from you, or something of the sort. So, working on that with myself, I kind of gained an understanding of, okay, this is a mistake, but this doesn't mean I should lose trust in myself. And in a similar way, I began to see, okay, this person made a mistake. It doesn't mean I should lose trust in them in the very same way that I make mistakes. And it wasn't so much that I was, um, you know, just being unfairly unreasonable toward other people. I was being unfairly unreasonable toward myself. So I couldn't distinguish between a mistake and this is proof that this person is not trustworthy. Those are, different things. And once I became better at trust, it was much easier to see, okay, this is a mistake, and this is continued demonstration that the person doesn't want to change. And I find that a lot of the people that I am strongly connected with always did want to change. It's just that I would sometimes warp my perception of them. Um, you know, and that's again what these unconscious programs are about, changing your perception. That's a big part of it.
Thank you, Isaac. And also, I would like to add to that that as a result of our work, your emotional intelligence increased,
Mhm.
and can be also a part of improving relationship.
Right, right. That definitely is a part.
And because your emotional intelligence improved, there were so many changes after working on some unconscious programs. For example, your expression of face shifted, your quality of voice changed from monotone to more having emotion in your voice.
Right.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And also, let's talk about how to identify unconscious programs, and how I created this methodology and it allows me to do it. I identify unconscious programs by observation of face, posture, and also listening to the voice of the person for the quality of voice, and also observing language patterns, what people say, how they say it, and also observing non-verbal communication. And also, people are doing some thinking about the issue, doing without thinking what to draw. They're doing kind of a mechanical drawings. And it will be a lot of unconscious information there. And I'm looking for neuromuscular locks when I observe face and listen to the voice, because unconscious programs create neuromuscular locks because of a stress reaction. And after identifying like what's going on, it's possible to identify what unconscious program to work on. and I do it one at a time, because some issues working only on one unconscious program, that issue can be gone, and you experience it actually.
Yes.
I
Yes.
remember after only one session, some issues were gone, and some issues are multi-causal, more than one unconscious program cause it, and in this case, you need to work one at a time. And after I identify unconscious programs what to work on, I guide people with a process that I created. And during this process, your unconscious mind will do most of the work, because your unconscious mind even will find all memories that created this program without recalling these memories, because otherwise can be too many memories. And some of them can be very traumatic, that people can even feel like certain feelings as a result. And there is no need to recall in order to do that. And it will include even genetic memories, because now there is a scientific evidence that trauma can be passed down genetically, as I mentioned before. And during this process, also your unconscious mind, I will be guiding your unconscious mind to do some work to transform traumas, to resolve traumas in this memory, or groups even of memories. And any kind of limitations, blocks that were created as a result. And do you have any comment about that? What was your experience during sessions?
Yeah, so I would say that everyone certainly has different experiences. I think I have some personal alignment with the process because I think I learned let's say some of my own ways to identify unconscious programs for myself, but I think your process might be more generalized to more people. Um, and like, for me, it's more just like learning from someone else who actually, has developed their own system and put it into practice. But uh, my experience has been that, you know, I could, of course, I'll always have things I want to work on, being the kind of person that I am, that I always want to improve myself. And as long as I keep thinking about those things and I come to the session ready to, really break down the issues that I have and let myself be open to improving, usually something will come out, something that I may not have realized until I joined that session. And that's kind of where this process will begin.
Uh, and was it your experience? Many of my clients, they were aware of certain issues, behavior they did not like, but they were not aware of unconscious patterns and unconscious programs that created it, like specifically. Was it your
Generally, yes. Yeah.
Because people are even not aware of these unconscious programs.
Yeah.
And also, Isaac, many of my clients, they described that it was pretty much effortless for them, because with this work, you do not need to try hard or to do some techniques after sessions multiple times, or to do some exercises or to repeat certain things.
Hmm.
During during the session, when the work is done, people do not need to do anything else. Was that your experience?
Um, you mean after the session or
That it does not require too much work to do what we did.
I think that can be interpreted differently depending on some people. And I've even known some people that like the feeling that it requires work from them, because for them, they almost feel like it won't stick without it. So it's kind of hard to say what the best way to understand that is, but my personal experience with it is, um, the work is not so much in fixing the problem, but in realizing that things have changed and adapting to how I am as a result. So let's say, for example, right, I have I no longer feel pins and needles in response to heat. Um, you might say there's no more work to be done there, but for me, the work is in realizing what does it mean to live with heat and not react that way. Like what are things I now can do, and how does that change my life? So the work is kind of in a different area as a result of things improving. The work is now, let me go live life more. So, but maybe that's not considered work, depending on the person, depending on the resulting situation. Does that make sense?
Some people like to become a better version of themselves.
Right.
They continue to grow, to learn, and to work on certain
Right.
issues.
And when something improves and you feel immediately like you can be better, you feel the need to do more work. So whether that's considered more work or not, that's kind of uh does that do you see my point here?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
only my point was this work is uh, effortless for people because there is
the resolution of the problem itself.
no
Yes.
homework to do, no repetition
Right.
exercise, time to wait, be like long time for the results.
Right. There is time for integration depending on the particular issue. But yes, I see your point. I'm just clarifying for people who may think that there is no additional work of any kind afterwards. And there might be, depending on the person and how they respond afterwards. But
For,
not to the problem, but perhaps to how they deal with the problem no longer being there. Right. As I gave an example just now.
for maybe other issue, but if the issue is permanently resolved,
Sure.
if not, you don't need to do anything else.
Right.
The homework is
Right.
done,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And some people experienced interesting experiences during and after sessions, as for example, becoming too cold, freezing cold, or too hot because of a dramatic shift on a chemical level.
Mhm.
And I remember you did experience similar, right?
Yeah.
A few times.
Yeah. But those kinds of things are more temporary, and they kind of went away very quickly. Worst case by the end of the day, but usually within a few minutes.
Of course, they're temporarily. Otherwise, it won't be good to live with it for the rest of
Yeah, yeah.
because as a result of the integration, like chemistry changes so dramatically.
Mhm.
And how fast did you experience results after sessions?
Um, I would usually experience some results right away. Um, but generally, I would say within a week or two for sure, the results would kind of be solidified, but those are more for, I would say more for the kinds of issues that I would say are bigger and are harder to see the difference of. They sometimes take more time. Those were more like specific things related to mental capacity, or like reacting to people a certain way. Like I had to see it enough times, or I don't really interact with people as much as most people do. So some things are different for different people to be able to see the results of over time. But usually it's one of those things where when you see it, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is very different from what I'm used to. Something has changed.
Thank you, Isaac. And did you learn new things about yourself? Like we mentioned, yes, you learned about patterns, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I did learn many things about myself. I don't know where to begin. But I guess the main thing is I think I just learned how much I like being able to think about things through this perspective of unconscious programs, and learn to kind of understand them and try to solve them for myself in certain ways as well, which I think I do have some capacity to do. But I think your work targets them in a very specific and consistent way that I would say is really helpful to a lot of different people. And for me, it's you know, my you need a very specific kind of perspective in order to be able to effectively do it. And I might be able to do it for myself to some capacity with some things, but maybe it's on a particular scope that doesn't impact me the same way, or maybe it's something too specific, but how do I put this? I need a specific issue addressed, and when I try to work on that issue myself, I'll end up working on a different issue because I don't know how to focus on that one specifically, those kinds of things. So uh I would say the biggest thing is I just learning about my fascination for this kind of work myself, and how I try to learn about it for myself and work on it with myself, if that
Thank
makes sense. Yeah.
you. And with this work, my clients told me that it was possible to grow very fast,
Yes.
personally and professionally, without trying to do anything. Was it your experience?
um Yes, I would say so, given some of the definitions we worked out earlier in this webinar about trying and putting in effort, right? We're distinguishing between the effort you might put in after or for a separate issue and just for the issue we specifically worked on. I would certainly agree. Yes.
Uh, it's also because of unresolved trauma can create a lot of limitations, as some people experiencing an analogy like living in a box, and no matter what they try, it's hard to get out. And
Right.
that's why transforming unconscious programs will free people, and it is a sense of freedom, and they're capable, there are more possibilities, and they're
Yeah.
capable to do what they want to do.
Yeah. But sometimes the difficult thing is also you don't know that you are being affected by an unconscious program. You just feel like you're doing your best, you're running against the wall and nothing's happening. And the reality is that that's basically what's happening. And that's because the unconscious program is making you do things in not the way that is best for you. And so when you resolve them, it's like suddenly a lot less effort is needed sometimes to be able to achieve what you actually want, because you're no longer running in the wrong direction.
Yes, that's right, Isaac. Uh, because first of all, people are unaware of what programs are and what they cause. And also, even they try to change on a behavioral level, it won't work well because the problem is caused on the unconscious level. In
Hmm.
order to resolve it, you need to work on the unconscious level.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And my clients told me multiple times what they noticed, often working on one issue will resolve or improve other issues, even they're not working on those issues.
Yeah.
And because the same unconscious program, when people are working on one issue, the same memory or groups of memory could cause other issues. Was it your experience too?
Yeah, absolutely.
For
Yeah.
example, you did not work on that issue and it was gone. I remember you had pressure in your eyes and pain, and you could not read for a long time, even with glasses. Do you remember?
Yeah.
We did not work on eyesight directly, but working on some unconscious programs resolved that issue.
That sounds about right. Yes.
Even you can be without glasses for some time, right?
Yeah. I just wear them because in general, I would just become more tired from not wearing them. Whereas in the past, it wasn't a matter of being tired. It was a matter of um, actual pressure in my eyes. And that was a problem. Here it's more because I'm reading something, I'm using the computer, like I'm looking at something specific. There it was basically I had to wear glasses all the time, or at any point I would risk my eyes feeling a lot of pressure, and that would result in a headache, and it was unbearable, and so on and so forth.
Uh, Thank you. And I remember I helped some people to improve their eyesight. For some, even reading, and they did not need to wear glasses anymore. And also for some, far distance. And for far distance, I remember a couple of my clients reported that they could not see without contact lenses or without glasses, and now they can see very clear, even one client told a mile away in little details, like an eagle.
I see.
Yes. And you also had very bad migraines, I remember, right? Before.
I think so. That's probably been a long time, so I don't really remember that one, but that sounds like one of the things I used to suffer from in the past.
And Isaac, also, I remember that you, even we did not work on that directly, we worked on some unconscious program recently, and you experience a dramatic shift, improvement in your digestive system.
Yes, yes.
Something about also complex things. Can you please?
Yeah, so recently I think trying to remember what it was that I came to work on initially. I think it was more just to do with feeling like there was just too much unpredictability and too many variables when I would think about things. And when I during that session, when I worked through it with you, after that, not only did I have a much stronger sense of clarity and it became a lot easier to implement complex things, but also my digestive system improved dramatically, which was, I didn't work on that. I used to have a lot more stomach acid, a lot more, I would say, symptoms of uh, irritable bowel syndrome, that kind of thing. And I mean, it's significantly better now. And I didn't expect that because I wasn't even working on it. So,
Thank you, Isaac. And many of my clients reported something similar. If
mhm,
they did not open some issues, as an example, some even irritable bowel syndrome, for example, issue, it was dramatically improved or resolved. And some people worked on that. And would you like to share anything else before our conclusion?
um, I think I've said most of the things I had intended to say. Do you have any specific questions for me?
Not for now, maybe.
Okay.
Yes. And as our conclusion, uh, what we talked about, I will summarize that the unconscious programs that people are not aware of at all, like you
Mhm.
and these unconscious programs can cause many issues in many areas of your life. And it's possible to identify unconscious programs and transform unconscious programs.
Mhm.
And in this case, you and your life can be completely different in many, many areas.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Thank you, Isaac, so much
Mhm.
for being with me during this webinar and sharing your transformations and your thoughts and your about this methodology and your experience about sessions.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night.